everybody, and welcome to Reed's Read Spider-Man Crawl Space Edition. Please check us out the SpiderManCrawlspace.com. Well, everybody, I am back from vacation and ready to get into the conclusion of Amazing Spider-Man number 5, which is a conclusion of Joe Kelly and artist Pepe Larraz's first story arc as new creative team on Amazing Spider-Man. So, how did this issue work? Believe it or not, it's actually pretty positive. Let's get into the pros. First of all, I really did like the fight and battle between the Hobgoblin and Spider-Man. I mean, this was really a really kind of classic feel to the story, especially everything with Kingsley. I do like the fact about how he is and his demented area, and also some more is we're getting into more exactly what the plan was of how Kingsley was going to capitalize, like you said, of it having his own pharmaceutical drugs on it and as a kind of a cure for the hallucination anxiety drug, which actually is pretty smart and is Kingsley's history. So and it also works really good in this day and age about people trying to sell a miracle cure for something that basically already exists or have pieces onto. So it's a really good little area because in the long run, Kingsley, as much as he loves putting on the mask and being, I'm so evil, his thing is he is a businessman. He has always been about the money and power and control over people. And it's really in character. And I really do like this. And the fight scenes work really well. I also like that we're getting a little bit more background on what Rancorp is going on. Some things with Zaza was actually really good where she got thrown into this mess, but she said herself she'd rather have justice pursued and actually realizes that Kingsley has somebody in on the FBI that is helping with him. Who it is, and it's hopefully a mystery. It's going to get resolved too. And I also like the fact we actually get a little bit more with Brian and actually exactly why Kingsley was going to take these guys off because they had the evidence to actually stop his plan in motion. So it works pretty good, and it actually feels like there is kind of a friendship here. And I'll talk a little bit more about the flashbacks in middle school, but I do kind of feel like this is Peter trying to help an old friend that was kind of there to him during a dark time in his life and a confusing time in his life, and it does work really well too. So I do like that we have a little areas on that too. So this part of the story actually does not have a bad feel. It does feel kind of like we've gotten to meet Brian along this lines. Like I said, there is a con to this, which I'll talk about in a little bit too. And speaking of the cons, the one thing is too here is how everything gets resolved. I mean, they're continuing trying to do this stuff between Peter and Norman Osborn as this kind of odd couple, man in the chair kind of feel. And the fact is, Peter is hearing more of not Norman's like, I kind of glad I destroyed his little empire as part of my atonement and pieces onto it. Peter is actually still combining a lot into Norman, and we are seeing more parts of the Green Goblin coming out. And I mean, I'm hoping that they're not going to pull a switcheroo and Peter be like, I never trusted you, Norman, like he did during Zeb Wells. It's kind of hurt it. Also, we're kind of getting the offensive of one thing about the brand new day writers can't move past the status quo. We have May once again talking about Peter, how she's been worried about him and everything else, and even though then, but how it's frightening, the secrets it's kept, and we've known for a while too, both in the movies and during J. Michael Straczynski's run on Spider-Man, as well as the late Peter David and other people in the post Civil War storylines about how May knowing who Peter was actually worked very good for her storyline and it parts here. And we feel like we're just backtracking here. We know about this. We know that May is technically Peter's mother. She raised him, everything from a young areas and so forth too. And I do like the little pieces they do, like with Uncle Ben's military jack in the background, and it's all been cleaned up by now too. But we've been here. The one thing that's been a really big problem with the Spider-Man offices now for hard to believe 20, almost 20 years next year, which is coming closer to think since this is, June when I'm not only reviewing, but actually recording this episode. We are almost 20 years about how they were supposed to have these great ideas and everything else. And we've just been retreading the same thing out. Same thing even too with the Hobgoblin. As much as this is the best use of Kingsley and Spider-Man in quite a long time, I actually felt like this was actually a very good storyline with the two of them. They're old rivals and actually doing some King and the fact like the Hobgoblin's wings are actually detachable and it's more of his updated glider, which actually was a smarter kind of idea instead of having the pack. So it definitely shows a little bit of innovation. But we've been there. The one thing is it does read like areas too, and we are starting to feel that concept that Peter doesn't need help anymore, that Spider-Man actually can find his own battles. But in the long run, we do feel like there are some things here that we've retrended before. This is not the first time the Hobgoblin's gone after everybody. It's not the first time Peter has saved ones or he bringing up about how he fails people, and Spider-Man's like, no, no, I will not fail again. We know with great power comes responsibility. We have been here. And I think that's something that the writers in the last 20 years, except for maybe a couple, including Nick Spencer, have basically tried to move a little beyond that, but also say how Peter is, works in his areas of two. We always are retrending. And I think that's the biggest thing that's been going on with Spider-Man for a number of years. It isn't just about getting rid of the marriage. It isn't just about shoving Mary Jane over as the new Venom. And I'm not going to talk about that here, but we've been here. We've been here. But when this is all said and done, Is it a good issue? Actually, this was not a bad, good story arc. It actually was really enjoyable. There was a cool mystery. It was a great use of the Rhino and Itsy Bitsy, and we know they're still out there. We do have the mystery about whoever was the FBI informant, and Kingsley does have kind of a plan B out there, so we know we'll probably see him again later on as we move on the storyline. But I'm going to actually give this issue a B plus. I think it was a nice little conclusion outside the retrends and everything for with the flashbacks with Peter and Brian, which we never really knew about anything in some of the earlier days about Peter being rejectful about May and Ben being his parents, even though they were his aunt and uncle. It works pretty good as a storyline, and I actually enjoyed this much better than the last year and a half of Spider-Man stories we were getting under the previous creative team. But it still lacks issue. I don't even go like the little Mario Kart joke they did too. Yeah, Joe Kelly. Yeah, I know. I was 17 when Mario Kart first came out. I know you're a good 10 years older than me, a little over 10 years older than me, but still. Yeah, I get the nostalgia joke. We like to do it. I saw it during your Deadpool days and some of your X-Men days, but we get it. The jokes, and Mario Kart's at least very popular today. But B plus for this, and I thought Pepe Larissa did. This was probably one of his strongest issues with the with the battles and everything in the little area. So well done to the creative team getting this far with the first story arc. Now we'll see how the next story arc goes. And with that, everybody, guys, if you like the reviews and want to get them firsthand, please think of like and subscribing to the channel. Ring that bell if you want to get the notification. I try to stay on top of them as much as possible, even after getting back from a needed vacation here in the last week and a half. So I hope everybody's good. And for more information and checking out more reviews with all the other creative, check us at spidermancrawlspace.com and definitely check us out on our various social medias, especially joining our Discord for discussions and talk on everything Spider-Man related on that, as well as the upcoming uh, summer movies season here as we get ready for all the big parts on that too. So on that note, guys, I want to thank you for everybody here, and I hope everybody has a great time. And I'll see you in a couple weeks on the crawl space.